My only comeback, sorry.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we stand before you, and first we thank you for all of the many blessings that you have seen fit to give us. We so appreciate all that you've done and all that you continue to do. We ask for your guidance tonight on this meeting. Let us make the decisions that are best for our county, for our taxpayers, our department heads, our employees, and everyone involved. And Lord, please be with those who are experiencing bad weather today. Please let it not be anything that devastates anything. Would appreciate that very much. And we ask a special blessing on those who stand in harm's way, our first responders and our military, those that go before us so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have and live the lives that we live. We ask all of this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, good evening, everyone. If all the council members could make sure your microphones are on. And if you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. With that, I'll call the meeting of March 14th to order. We're looking for the approval of the minutes of January 30th and February the 8th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, can't do the aye, sorry.
Sorry. We can just raise our hands tonight.
Okay, first on the agenda tonight, we have Bowen Center, Dr. Rob Ryan. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I did bring a few people with me, but they can come up here after me and share a few things. So glad to be here. So much of what we do happens quietly behind the scenes. Most of our work happens one-on-one, and I just love an opportunity to share some things that we're doing and telling you some stories. So tonight, we're definitely going to share some of those. But also want to make sure you know more about us, and we get a pulse from you. Are we meeting the community's needs? Is there anything that you're hearing that we need to know? Is there something that we can do to be more of a help to you, to know what we're doing on a regular basis? And essentially, that's what our goals are tonight. So that you know who represents all of you on our board, we have Dan Woods is one of our board members. He's actually here today. I think if you've lived in Kosciuszko County for more than a month, you know Dan Woods, so that's self-explanatory. We also have a newer board member, which comes with the vote of the commissioners. We have Jim Smith, our sheriff. That was a great addition. And then we also have two ladies who are from up in the Syracuse area. We have Cindy Brady, and we also have Roxanne Gonzalez. Both of them work for the school system. So they certainly represent you well. We cover 5 core counties. Each of the counties have 3 representatives on the board. Kosciuszko gets an extra one because our headquarters is here. So it's a little bit about them. So here's what I wanted to share with you. In the last several years, we've really been trying to make sure that we have a focus on our patients. And it's not that we haven't before, but our values are respect, integrity, mission, and stewardship. And when you think about respect, you think about if you wanted to go get health care in this community, you'd go to Parkview or you go to Kosciuszko Lutheran Hospital, and you think about the lobby, the waiting room, and the things, the places we receive services. And then I was thinking a lot about where we are located and how our lobbies look and so on. And so for the last 4 or 5 years, we've really been preparing to roll out in our 5 core counties an elevated look, something that when you see one of our buildings, you know, hey, that's one of the Bowen Center locations. So if you've driven east at all, or west actually for that matter, if you've driven east towards Columbia City, just past Columbia City proper, we actually have one of those first buildings open and running. Probably one of the things you'll see is a sign. One of the reasons we wanted a sign of that size is when I would drive to Fort Wayne and I stop at that light and I'd look up at Whitley County, Parkview, you'd see, Shelley, 6 pounds, 7 ounces. It kind of did something to me. It's sort of like, hey, there's another generation coming. It's so much excitement. And I thought to myself, we need to celebrate the things that we do. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, but I can see our signs all along US 30 saying things like, Rob, 7 years sober, or 3 families reunited this week. And why that's so important is one, I want to celebrate the things that our patients are doing, which usually happens quietly that nobody notices, or maybe just their family. But I also want to do it because I might be driving along there and think, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it. Or you know what? I need to give them a call today. So certainly the building is something that we wanted to enhance. We've actually purchased property here to move from our 850 North Harrison location, which is on that sort of the complex of Lutheran Hospital there. And we purchased property between Aegis Dental and Goodwill. And again, many reasons for that. We want to be out front and center. We want to make sure that, again, we're elevating that location. We're looking at having a groundbreaking in the fall, and also we'll be finishing our building that we're doing in Marshall County probably around the same time. So we're excited to do that. Each building is costing, depending on the square footage, roughly $7 to $8 million, and certainly this one in Kosciuszko will be on that upper end. So glad to make the investment here in our community. But the other thing that I'm really passionate about, and that we've made something from a treatment standpoint, a major initiative, is this idea of total health. Through my training, even early years here at Bowen Center, there seemed to be this sense within our industry that we deal with this part of the human being, If it's not, in the head, we don't deal with that. Well, we know now that the entire body contributes to how we feel, our thoughts, and so on. And we also know that people who have mental illness struggle with chronic diseases and sadly end up passing away many years earlier than the general population. So I was like, hey, we need to look at this. We need to see how are we treating these people that we say that we love and care for. And so I had some data that really was jaw-dropping and something that really tells me that we are really ready to take what we do to the next level. So here's a few of those things that I found out in the last 4 years, just the last 4 years. People with a serious mental illness, they'd be ones who get services from us 8+ hours a day, often will live with us. Essentially, we may be practically their family. We had 23 individuals pass away in the last 4 years. Of those, I'll just give you some demographics. 16 of those were males, 7 were female. And if you think about the US population, the average age that you would expect a female to live to is around 80. Average age is around 77 for men. The average age of the ladies that passed away who had a serious mental illness were 48, and the average age of the males were 50. Now, this is not unique to Bowen Center. It's not unique to here in Kosciuszko. There's research that suggests around 25 years is erased from your life if you have a serious mental illness in your 20s. Lots of reasons for that. But one of the most important reasons is because they have complex difficulties that need to be managed by a team. And integrative care is what we're bringing to the community to help these individuals. And what I thought I would do here, just to end my portion, is to give you contrasting stories. The first version of this story is going to be the 62 years that we've lived here. We're proud of what we've done, and you'll have heard a story like this. But the second story we're going to tell you is our next 62 years, and I think that you'll see how same character, same person, but you're going to see the difference of how we were and who we're going to be. This is definitely something that is unique here in northern Indiana and is certainly, I would say, cutting edge, so we're definitely proud of that. So here it is. I wrote it down so I wouldn't sort of get it wrong here, but it's a story that I would say is made up of many of those people who passed away over those years, again, who we loved and cared for, did what we certainly believed was best for them, but here it is here. So Troy started life like most of us. He went to school, made friends, and grew. Around 18, his family and friends started to notice something changing with Troy. He became more distant, talked a lot about conspiracy theories, and stopped being motivated to care for himself. By 24, Troy had 2 stays in county jail and had been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Over the next 10 years, his behavior strained his relationships with his family and community. By the time he turned 40, Troy had been referred to Bowen Center services many times but never followed through. Late one Saturday evening, a sheriff's deputy called our crisis receiving and stabilization services and said, "Is there anything you guys can do?" They were told, "Look, just bring him. We'll figure something out." Over the next several months, Troy would drop in and out of services. But after developing trust in Bowen Center, one day he asked his psychiatrist if he knew how to get off the streets. This began a journey through Bowen Center's transitional living services. Those are those ones where you're going to stay and maybe get 24 hours care and coverage. And Troy initially stayed in our 24-hour Harbor Zone, which is just sort of north of 30 there here in Warsaw. He was quiet and standoffish, but it didn't take long before other patients and staff got to see the real Troy. He was nervous to make friends and trust staff due to years of abandonment and feeling like people would just let him down. Troy graduated to Bowen Center's semi-independent living home, Wilson Castaldi, also north of 30 there. Here, Troy flourished. He'd been working on his overall health, and during a stay, he went on medication for hepatitis C, chronic blood pressure, and wanting to improve his oral health. At age 51, during a routine health checkup, a Bowen doctor came across a lump in Troy's neck. After referring Troy to a specialist, it was found to be cancerous. Staff were devastated. They had grown to love Troy. Troy was surprisingly upbeat, though. He would tell anyone that would listen that in the last 5 years were the best 5 years of his life, and this was his time. He was ready. Troy's funeral, sadly, was small and made up mostly of friends he made at Bowen Center and Bowen Center staff. One distant relative was found who attended, but beyond them, Bowen was his family. One of the last things Troy said that will always stay with me is Troy said that he wished he'd found Bowen Center earlier. And if he had, his life would have turned out differently. Over our next 5 years, like I said, we are dedicated to patients just like Troy. We want to find the Troys and Tinas in our community earlier and have that total encompassing health for all those individuals. So here's the Troy story for the next 62 years. Troy started life like most of us. He went to school, made friends, and grew. In the 4th grade, the teacher noticed that Troy struggled making friends. She referred him to Bowen Center's new school program at Warsaw Schools, head to toe, that connects a licensed therapist to children in school via telehealth. Around 16, Troy's psychiatrist diagnosed him with a schizoaffective disorder. After graduating high school, Troy entered an internship program to become a welder. Troy's Bowen Center skills coach came with him to orientation, and they spent the next few days creating a plan to help him be successful. Over the next 10 years, Troy got his welding certificate and found a woman he wanted to move in with and make a life with. By the time Troy turned 40, he wanted to make another change in his life. He talked to his therapist about wanting to give back. Troy applied to become one of Bowen Center's peer supporters and is excited when he became a Bowen Center employee. At 41, at an annual checkup, a lump was found in Troy's neck. After a specialty follow-up, a plan to treat his cancer was developed. After a year of treatment, Troy was declared cancer-free. Today, Troy is 53 years old, and he's the lead of our peer support team. He's excited that he's hearing that he's going to be a grandfather in the next year. Do you see what we're trying to do differently and how we're trying to change things? Bowen Center was not wrong over the last 62 years. There was just no way to do what we're doing. And we're really trying to make sure that by finding people earlier and providing that total care to complex cases, we can erase those 25 years that are taken from people. So up next, we have Mike Murphy. He is our senior director here for Kosciuszko County. He's going to talk a little bit about the handout that you have there in front of you. Mike.
All right, so I'm just going to go over a little bit from your annual report. You're going to notice in the front you've got kind of the mission there, described there by Cindy Brady, and just doing the right thing for every patient by Dr. Rob Ryan. I want to highlight just a couple of those stories. That first one, Coping in Cupcakes, is an awesome story about a 6-year-old boy living with his grandma who was struggling with just some serious things and some serious outbursts, throwing furniture, hitting, things like that. And he got connected to one of our skills coaches. Brittany Van Meter began working with him during that summer in preparation for him to go to kindergarten. She began helping him, teaching him coping skills and different things like that. And then it came time for school, and they get into the classroom, and Brittany goes with him into the classroom, sitting next to the patient, helping them with different things, making sure that they're implementing those coping skills in the classroom. And then at the end of the story, something amazing happens. The teacher asks Brittany, can you teach this coping skill that you've taught this young man to our class? And she said, oh, definitely I can do that. And then this young boy said, I want to help. And he stands up and they teach this coping skill, which is called blowing out the cupcake. And you pretend you're holding a cupcake in your hands, and you take a deep breath and you blow out the candle on top. Teaching him appropriate breathing, deep breathing, helping him to relax in stressful situations. It's just a great coping skill. And then the second one, you heard Dr. Ryan talk a little bit about that integrative care model. This is a story that's already happened. It's about a man who came in, and he was desperate for help. And as our provider was in the room, recognized that there was some suicidal ideation that was happening, that he was kind of at the end of things. So while he was staying in the room, he called one of our therapists over. Remember, we're talking integrative health. Brought a therapist into the room, and the two of them are able to build a safety plan around that patient and wrap them in support. During that conversation, they also found out that this individual was struggling with some homelessness. Food insecurity was a big thing. They were able to get connected to a skills coach that day, make sure that they get a good warm meal, and then also continue in services to make sure that they had that support. Those are all the things that happened from one visit that someone came in to have, and the connection that they were able to make just from that one connection, which is awesome when we think about integrative health. So those are just a couple of the stories. I also want to go over, if you flip to the back, you've got the annual report and the update there. On that left-hand column, you're going to notice those services marked green, blue, orange, blue, and so on. Those are services that we've done as an entire Bowen Center. So you're going to see outpatient services provided, 74,000. Health clinic services provided, 68,000. Skills coaching services, that first story that I told you about, that's that service. That's 363,000. DCS family serves, 661. And it goes on and on and on it goes. And then in that bottom right-hand corner, you see the funding. The funding that we're so grateful to have from the county. Just about $750,000 that was given to us, and then we turned that into $1.5 million in free care. Now, being the senior director of Kosciuszko County, it would not be fair if I did not point out one thing. If you slide up, we've got that financial report at the top. Right under where it says uncollectibles, you're going to see charity care, fee assistance, and bad debt. That number is about $8.2 million. So that's that free care that we're talking about for the entire center. We're in almost 30 counties. I'm proud to say that Kosciuszko County takes up about 20% of that free care, which is just great at being a leader here in this county. You'll see across the bottom there, we've got about 351 employees, patients served, over 10,000 patients. Patient visits, just shy of 100,000 for Kosciuszko County. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Vice President of Intensive Services, Tessa Hottenwaller.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, I'm Tess Ottenweller. I want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm very excited about and what I've been working really hard with some of my colleagues on, and that's our crisis service expansion at the center. So we know that rapid, accessible, compassionate crisis support saves lives and improves mental and physical well-being. We want to be a leader in that, and the state of Indiana is really moving towards this crisis continuum expansion. So we've been partnering a lot with Division of Mental Health and Addiction and 988 to really focus on these new crisis services. When you think of crisis care, I want you to think of three components. One is somewhere to call, that's 988. The second is someone to respond, those are mobile crisis teams. And then the third is a safe place to go, and that's what we call crisis, receiving, and stabilization services. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about crisis, receiving, and stabilization services. Immediate access to care, the safe place to go. Mike and Tara have worked extremely hard to ensure that anybody who comes to a Bowen Center facility during business hours will get immediate assistance when they're experiencing a crisis. Their teams are dedicated to assess, stabilize, and connect to the next level of care, regardless of what that is for an individual. That might mean they need a quiet, calm space to sit. They need some time to themselves. They might need a clean pair of clothes. They might need a snack. It might mean that they need to work with one of our skills coaches to get connected to additional community resources. It also might mean that they need that higher intensity level of care, like inpatient hospitalization, so they can give a warm transition into our Pearston facility to our inpatient hospital. Now, if someone is experiencing a crisis, not during typical outpatient business hours, our Pearston location has expanded crisis stabilization services 24/7. So that would include nights, weekends, holidays. This is a service that is in place now, today. I just helped over there today. And I want everyone in the community to hear, if you or a loved one, a friend, a family member are experiencing a mental health crisis, come see us. The next expansion service I want to touch on is our mobile crisis teams. So this is in development, and remember, this is someone safe to respond. And by in development, I mean we are plugging along with our plan, hiring, training. We've been working closely with Chris Fansel and the CARES team to work collaboratively, with them. They've been doing some great work in the community, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is partnering with them, complementing what they're already doing, and learning some best practices from them. I'm excited about our mobile crisis teams because not only does this mean we get to enhance some of the services we're already doing out in the community, it's also opening a new workforce for us, and these are peer support specialists. Peer support specialists are people that have lived experience in the behavioral health arena. Maybe they themselves have a mental health condition or substance use disorder, or they've experienced it with a loved one. It's so common. And when you work with a peer, it shows that it really helps individuals in crisis be better engaged, increase safety, stay in services, navigate challenging systems to continue to follow up with care. It's transformative, and we are so excited to be able to start offering this. So before the end of the year, we will have 2-person mobile crisis teams who are available 24/7. As I said, we're currently working on our training, hiring, and connection with those. So I hope to be back before you before the end of the year, soon, hopefully, telling you that we are ready to rock and roll with those because the community needs it. And I think we have some really amazing things for Kosciuszko County coming. One last plug I want to give on the expansion of crisis services for you. We are going to be decreasing the amount of unnecessary hospitalizations for folks. We're going to be decreasing emergency department usage. And we're also going to be decreasing the overuse of resources like law enforcement when maybe they are not the ones that need to be used in a behavioral health emergency. So all good things coming. I certainly want to open it up for any questions and invite either of my colleagues to come back up and assist me.
Does any of the council have any questions?
No, I wanted to say thank you for the breakdown.
Sure.
On the bottom right-hand corner, because a lot of times we don't see that. So I just wanted to say thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And we definitely heard that, making sure that you know what happens specifically with your dollars, who are we serving, what are we
Right.
doing with those things? Because we all know, you get stopped in the street and you get asked those kind of questions. And I want you to be able to answer and say, hey, if you had your retirement fund and I could guarantee you a fund that would give you $2 for every dollar you invested, you'd be like, sign me up. And when we feel like good stewards of those dollars when we can return that. And again, those dollars were for county, Kosciuszko County patients. Those were not just for everyone, those are just for Kosciuszko patients.
I believe this is probably the best reporting we've had in a long time. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
agree, I think so too. Thank you for all that and just for all the work you've done in Kosciuszko County.
Thanks, Sue-Ann.
So,
So based on the number of employees, your average wage, 351 is what's employed here in our county. I'm assuming, since you have the payroll benefits, is that only in our county, that $28 million figure?
When it comes to the Bowen Center, our breakdown is roughly between 87 and 92% of our expenses are staff costs. You know, that's what we do. If you think about product, our product is our people. And so overall, yes, our staff costs are over $85 to $90 million. So that would be for Kosciuszko. Now, it mixed in there, of course, of that is our entire corporate office is here. So those are not just clinicians, so it would be our outpatient plus our corporate office would be those.
Okay, well, when I take 351 and I divide that into $28 million, that says you're paying about 80,000 plus per employee?
Yes, so that would include employees, which would be salaries and benefits. Something that, we're proud of recently is take our therapists, for example. When I came up through and you think about therapists, a therapist in our industry, the average salary is around $40,000. But if you think about a nurse practitioner, there's a lot of similarities there. They have about the same amount of schooling, but they work in a healthcare setting, a physical healthcare setting, and the therapist worked with us. And something that we're really proud of is that the average therapist now here, if you're licensed, is approaching, most of them are making six figures. And I think that's one of those things is if we want the best people working with the people who have struggles, you have to pay them in our world. And so, yeah, I think that overall, that's a pretty accurate. Of course, there's a wide range of those, but that would be accurate with benefits and salaries, that would be, so.
Thank you, I just was
Yeah.
curious as to how that related. Can I ask one more and then I'll shut up, or Joni, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay,
I'm listening.
okay, so how is the 988 number going to work in connection with the 911?
Sure. So the state is definitely pushing to have two systems. In talking with Chris, he's worked hard to really say, hey, when a person's in a crisis, they pick up the phone and call 911 right now. If I am having chest pains, I'm not thinking to myself, now, is this an anxiety problem? Or is it, you're like, I need help right away. And so part of what we're doing is that while 988 is committed to calling our crisis team, we've watched, Chris, that if we really are going to reduce the numbers of people that are being called, it's got to expand beyond that. So while 988 is specifically tied to us, I bet you the calls would be maybe 10%. That might even be a stretch. The state's trying to advertise that number more, but really a lot of it is they've been describing it as like a suicide hotline, which is true, but they're really trying to now pivot and say, well, it's a crisis line. And if you call that number today, they'll tell you all the services and they'll tell you what Tess just told you about. I need help, where do I go? The 911 side of things, I would argue, is that, of course, we want to do all of Kosciuszko County, not just the Warsaw and Wayne Township, is trying to take what we've learned that works here and expand it to all those places. And to just go with 988 would miss so many phone calls. So I think it's going to take a partnership outside of the state's 988 efforts. And it's not to disparage them at all. It's just, it's going to take, think about how long 911's been around to really have people depend on it. And we just think that if we just stick with 988, I think we're just going to miss a lot of people. So if you call either of those numbers, our goal in the future is to respond in a meaningful manner.
Where is the 988 number answered?
Yeah, so the state actually, I believe, has a contract with 4 agencies, and they have all of our information. We're able to upload our information of what services we provide. So it is 4 agencies within the state that they've contracted with. Again, don't quote me on the 4, but I believe so. I saw, a request for proposals that came out, and I know that people came through. So they've met with us twice. They've actually sent people to us, and Tess and I sat with them and literally described all the services we have. So if you called, you'd hear. Now, the good thing is I love Bowen Center, but you may not love Bowen Center. And they are able to tell you, here are all the options around here. And so that's something I'm proud of what the state's tried to do. It's not like you have to come to the Bowen Center. They really do have all the resources around for people if they choose to go elsewhere, so. Yeah.
I have a quick question about the integrative care. Is that a model that the state is encouraging? Or, I'm just curious about that, because I've been to some conferences and I feel like this is a new model of, that the state is really encouraging.
Yes, there's money there.
So they are, for probably 45 years, the state has defined who we are as a community mental health center. And they're coming up with a new designation that's called a Certified Community Behavioral Health Center. And it's an attempt to get us to look beyond the neck up.
Okay.
Now, for those CCBHCs, as they call them, they don't include primary care. They include efforts to partner with primary care. And everything that I've read, and again, we've tried that for 62 years, and we get stories like Troy. And so for us, when we wanted to bring it in-house, not because we don't trust our healthcare partners in town, it's hard to communicate between 2 agencies. It's hard down the hallway. And so part of our reason of doing this is I would argue that out of the 24 community mental health centers in the state, around 12 of them are doing what we're doing.
Okay.
And the other, 12 of them they're doing their own thing. That's, again, they'll just partner with hospitals and that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Now, in the future, we don't expect to be back here talking this much, but we do want to be available to you. I know in the past, we had John, who was on our board, John Garber, and he was certainly available to you. In talking with Jim Smith, he said, you're not going to expect me to take over from John and share with. We just want to be sure that we're available for you when you need us and want us. We're going through our strategic planning right now for this next year, and we want to make sure, like I said, if there's something missing. You have called all of you. You can have my information. You can get a hold of me if there's something that we didn't want to bring up here and you want to bring up privately. We're open to that. We don't want to just use the dollars in a way to say, hey, look what we did with them. We want your voices, which you represent the community, involved in those dollars too. So definitely appreciate you and all that you guys do. And again, if you want us back more frequently, we can come, but we just want to be here and be available to you. So
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Steve Snyder on behalf of Louis Dreyfus. And the procedure we'll use for this evening, this was tabled from last month. We will go ahead and let Steve speak first and add anything additional that he feels the council should hear. Then we will open it up to the public for comment. We'll probably take the against first, and then we'll take the fors second. And if you're going to speak, I would ask that you sign the form on the table before you speak and come up to the microphone and state your name clearly and for the record, and then make your comments. You'll be limited to 3 minutes. After that, then I will read the formal recommendation for council's consideration from the abatement committee. Then we'll go into discussion with the full council, and then we'll go to a vote. Okay?
Sounds
Good
good.
evening, Steve.
Steve Snyder on behalf of Louis Dreyfus. This is, I think, the second continued hearing. We've had a lot of discussion about this request and in the process, look back at other requests, not just for Dreyfus, but for a number of abatement requests over the past 10, 12 years. In this particular situation, Dreyfus is looking to put improvements into the Claypool facility of $59,867,000. Of that, $27,109 is for real estate improvements, and $32,758 is for personal property improvements. The detail, we've been over this before, so I know you have the list of general description of the items that are going to be provided, both from a real estate improvement standpoint and from the personal property standpoint. We're dealing with a significant meal storage expansion. From a personal property standpoint, we're looking at liquid infrastructure to handle the oils business. We're looking at an estimated completion of December 31, 24. I am always hesitant to drop those dates because we all know what happens when something goes a little crooked, and that can always happen. Currently, Dreyfus has an annual personal property tax bill of $550,000 to the county and a real estate tax bill of $181,748. They employ 160, or will employ 168 employees, adding 13 with this expansion, with salaries of $959,000 for those employees. But we're upgrading equipment, we're adding equipment. I know there was one item that was shown on the list of additions that was called maintenance. That's an accounting term that Dreyfus uses. It's not a maintenance term. It merely means that they're upgrading items that already exist to make them either more productive, more efficient, or safer in some cases. I'm not even going to try and go through the list, but I will tell you that we're looking at a request for 10-year abatement on the real estate and 5-year abatement on the personal property. We have competition, not just from other entities similar to Dreyfus, but within the Dreyfus facility. It's my understanding there is a new plant being constructed, planned and constructed in Ohio as we speak. Those plants all compete for the type of business that Dreyfus has all over the country. So over the years, Dreyfus looks at Kosciuszko County as being welcoming, because when they come in with a $50 million project, there has been favorable action from this council to make sure that continues. And that's exactly what they want to do. We looked at some other issues that were questioned by the committee. One of them was how many employees in the facility are Kosciuszko County residents. We can tell that pretty easily from where the taxes have to be paid. 142 out of the current 148 are Kosciuszko County residences. That says something significant for the facility. Local vendors, and this is just a slight list, but area vendors benefit $1.6 million on an annual basis from the operation that Dreyfus has in Claypool. It's almost impossible to try and figure out where all the various vendors are from, but that was just a general surrounding area list of those vendors. The advantages that Dreyfus has provided, not just to its employees or the vendors, has been to the agricultural industry. Commodity prices are good. I think every farmer in the county who provides beans likes to go to Dreyfus. They're close. Transportation costs are reduced, and the commodity prices are well at or above what other commodity prices are in the area. Dreyfus has not required of the county any additional expenses to be paid by the county. Everything that's been done has been done by Dreyfus at this facility. The Claypool Fire Department makes an occasional run, but that really is about it. The road improvements are all in. There's no plan at this point for any additional entrance off a county road. State Road 15 is supplying the access, and internally there has been significant expansion from the standpoint of unloading to allow more vehicles in and out more quickly to avoid any congestion of truck traffic, especially during the season. Dreyfus would like to continue to be comfortable coming to the county and saying, we like your county, we like what you have done for us in the past, and we like to think that we are a valuable enough employer and business that you will welcome us in the future. And I think that's what they're looking at right now. They want to expand here because it is a good place to do business, and they want to pay their taxes here, which they are doing and will continue to do. And as the various abatements fall off, that tax revenue will increase every year. One of the things about tax abatement is it brings in the taxable value, whether you are paying taxes on it in that first year or not. The value is there. The second year, if it's a 90% abatement in the second year, then you've increased your tax revenue by that 10%, and that continues to decrease if it's a 10-year abatement over the 10 years. So you are gaining taxes even though you are abating them in a decreasing sense over whatever period the abatement is approved for. So again, we're looking for personal property abatement of $32,758,000, real estate of $27,109,000, with the real estate being for a period of 10 years and the personal property being for a period of 5 years.
All right, thank you, Steve. With that, I'll open the floor up for public comment. You will have 3 minutes to make a statement, and is there anyone here to speak against granting the abatement? Okay, is there anyone here to speak for the granting of the abatement? Please state your name. Did you sign in?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Greg Fitzloff, KEDCO. Again, we had sent you a letter of support for this abatement during your last council meeting. Just wanted to stand up tonight and, again, reiterate a lot of the things that Mr. Snyder had said. Dreyfus has been a strong growth partner within the community over the last, obviously, decades. You certainly are more aware of that than I am. I think anytime you have an opportunity to encourage continued strong investment like you've seen out there, you certainly should be willing to encourage that. I certainly am aware of some of the questions and comments that people have made. And certainly just, again, on behalf of KEDCO, want to encourage you to look forward, look toward the future, look at what you can do to continue to encourage major entities, whether it's Dreyfus or any other of the partners we have throughout the county and future potential partners that we may be trying to attract to the county, that you send that message that Kosciuszko County is open for business and we welcome new capital investment and new jobs in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak for it? Okay, with that, I'll close the meeting to the public, and then I'll go ahead and read a prepared statement from the Abatement Committee. It reads, the Abatement Committee has met with counsel of Lewis Dreyfus. Steve Snyder, representing Lewis Dreyfus, proposed 2 different requests, a 3- and 5-year abatement and a 2- and 3-year abatement. Correct, Steve? Okay. The committee took those under advisement. We put together worksheets outlining the tax impact of each. We then put together other worksheets of different possibilities for comparison. Those comparisons went from a high of 10 and 5 down to a 2 and 2. The tax impact will range from a high of $2.183078 million for a 10 and 5-year abatement to a low tax impact of $778,995 for a 2 and 2-year abatement of both real and personal property respectively. The spreadsheet is generated at the current tax rate for 2024. The committee met again on February 15th, 2024 for final review to discuss the request. The committee hereby recommends to full council for consideration 2 years of real and 2 years of personal property on $59,867,000. The total tax revenue impact will be $778,995.26. The time frame recommended by the committee will coincide with the final bond payment due Dreyfus due from Dreyfus in 2026, approximately February. The time frame, with this recommendation, the committee points out that this abatement will not directly affect the revenue stream needed to operate our county. Lewis Dreyfus exists in its own tax increment finance district. The expiration of this TIF district is the year 2036. The tax revenues generated in that district stay in that district. The revenues generated go to pay off the original bond as well as infrastructure improvements needed for the district. And with that, I'll open it up to full council for questions, comments, whatever you have.
I have a question for Jeremy. Okay, so this is a constituent question. My district is the north, and their concern is your new processing plant is canola, which canola seeds come from Canada instead of doing the soybean. Do you project that you're going to do less soybeans and more canola seeds from Canada with this new project?
Yes, please.
Well, okay, so those, I've got some calls from farmers.
Oh, sure, no, good question.
And so,
Yeah, so this is one of the it's all exciting to me because I'm a
Okay.
nerd, but on the canola stuff that you hear, it's confusing. But if you remember, March of 2020, crazy time, but we
Yes.
opened up the packaging plant that time, right as COVID hit, and it was for, originally for glycerin. So we refined glycerin and we packaged it.
was that like in coinciding with the Ukraine issue? Was after that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
that happened later, but
Okay.
glycerin is used for hand sanitizer.
Correct.
So we started doing that right at COVID, right? So that was lucky. We didn't plan that. But that packaging plant is so popular that we've tripled it in size since we first built it. And we're looking to double it again because if you build it, they will come. So we were packaging glycerin. We started packaging canola oil. So we're not processing canola. We're only processing soybeans.
Okay.
The term processing, I think, is in some of the documents, but we're packaging it. So we don't put it in little bottles that you buy at the store. We put it in totes and drums.
Okay.
So what happens is when we ship out oil in different products, biodiesel, it's in big, huge rail cars or big trucks. Well, this oil is used for food. And a lot of the food companies aren't big enough to use a whole semi-load. So what they do is they might buy one drum, and then what they'll do is a truck will come and we'll put it on a van trailer. So that's what the canola is. It's canola oil that we actually process it in Canada. It's a town, Yorkton, Saskatchewan.
Right.
And that plant, actually, we're doubling it in size right now, and we're going to be making more canola oil there. So that canola is totally separate. It's not going to impact our soybean business whatsoever.
Okay, so that's good because it's becoming more efficient because of the war, isn't it? Because Ukraine and Russia, they brought that price down.
Well, I don't know if we should get into
A
the
little bit,
speculation
yeah.
of all
Well, a little bit.
global
Okay,
politics.
so, well, yeah, but now, so what's happening, so you're not processing the canola oil here? And
No.
you're still processing as many soybeans
It's
as
100%,
they can
100%
bring?
soybean is what we're
Okay.
processing here. And from that soybean, we're making lots of other things. But the canola portion of it, we're railing in canola oil. We've got two different types that we bring in. I don't know if you're that interested in the details, but there's a high oleic canola oil that we bring in. It's a
Right.
specialty product that we actually have licenses for in Canada. And then there's an RBD commodity oil, which is refined bleached deodorized canola. But that's all processed with Canadian canola seed in Canada.
Right.
We bring the product here. All we do here is unload the rail car, put it into a smaller package, and then we sell it out. So some of these things are causing, as you can imagine, problems with our infrastructure of rail. So that'll be another project coming up probably soon, is the
Right.
rail expansion, but that's not for this one.
Okay,
Does
excellent.
that make sense?
It makes total sense. And then, do you do sunflower oil?
No,
also,
we've
or-
talked about it, and the reason sunflower oil is so popular is because it's non-GMO.
Okay.
And because there is no GMO technology for sunflowers, but for soy, we can't really, there's not enough non-GMO
That's
soybeans
okay,
for our
I'm trying to
plant.
get these questions answered
Oh,
for
sure,
for
bring
my
it on,
farmers.
bring it on. I can go all night.
No, I think that covers it, because that was a concern of theirs, since, we grow mostly beans here in our area, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there was talk years ago about trying to do canola, but we can't grow enough canola seed here. But, Steve mentioned other projects that we're working on, and I
Right.
spent all of Tuesday in the state of Ohio. And that actually will have some positive impacts here, because some of what we'll probably do, no guarantees, but we'll probably have, as we increase staff for that facility, they'll probably be based here. So I can see us growing actually our employment here to support that plant, so.
Excellent.
And that's, a lot of things could happen in the next 2 years, so.
Okay, thanks,
Jeremy, a question
Yes.
I have. I was part of the mint oil business way back when Asian oil started coming in the United States. They used domestic oil and blended it off with the lower quality Asian oil to make it fit for the market. Are you doing any blending with this process?
No. There's a lot of stuff going on with renewable diesel. It's similar to biodiesel, but slightly different. It's really big in California, but there is some of that going on in the industry. Very controversial, so I don't want to address that too much and get quoted on that. But I do serve as our company representative on our National Oilseed Processing Association trade organization. And that is an issue that we're dealing with at a national level, trying to prevent what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you all very much for everything you do for the community, so thank you.
Any comments, the council, questions to each other? What's your flavor?
I guess my question is that you are recommending a 2 and 2.
Yes,
If we wanted to recommend something else,
that's why you have all the data in front of you.
I would recommend we go with the 7-5.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion on the
Your
floor.
reasoning, may I ask the reasoning?
Well, I think Louis Dreyfus has been a great partner. I think that they have brought a lot of money to this county, and I honestly feel that they have taken whatever abatements they have gotten, and they have turned that around, and they keep growing and expanding and bringing more and more things here. And I think that they should be rewarded for doing so.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for a 7 and 5 year abatement, and you all have the paperwork that describes that. It did not specifically go over those figures. Do we have a second for that motion? Hearing none?
I
would
second
declare
that
a
motion. I'll second that motion.
Okay, we now have a second for that 7 and 5 year abatement. So then now I'll ask for a vote.
Could we maybe say the amounts that would be involved with
Yes,
the
if you have the sheet in front of you, Savannah?
Do we have that one?
It's,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it looks like for 7 and 5, the total would be $1.8 million, $1,860,971 to be more exact. And that would be for 7 years for the real estate and 5 years for the personal.
And those tax dollars would go into the TIF, Tax Increment Financing District.
right, so it would go back into that area.
Right.
Do you
It's not
want,
like it's going away. Yes.
do you want to inform the council of the redevelopment component of that later on possibly?
Okay.
Would you? I mean, obviously, that's going to go past the original bond payment, so there possibly could be another 10 years without a bond payment of tax revenue going into that TIF. What would that mean to redevelopment?
Well, that would mean an opportunity to resurface some roads around there, to possibly do some more infrastructure. Louis Dreyfus has, I don't want to mess this up, so Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have a partnership with Claypool. They do have some of their own water, but they don't have, explain the water situation. We're working on something right now. Okay. I don't think it's final. Okay. We had some people there yesterday at the plant. We're in discussion. Okay. Help them and help ourselves. Right. Claypool has some water issues at this point in time. And that is something that if there were TIF dollars that could be utilized to help both the town of Claypool and Louis Dreyfus at the same time solve Claypool's issues, and then hopefully bring water to Louis Dreyfus. I mean, those are the kind of projects that we're looking at down the road for Claypool and Louis Dreyfus. Claypool doesn't have the funds to correct their issues. And so bottom line is it's going to come before the commissioners if they find no other way to take care of it. They've applied for many, many grants, and they've been turned down for many, many grants.
Thank you for your insight, Joni.
Yeah, I want to thank you too, Joni.
So does this have to do with then the town sanitary sewer rehab? And storm sewer and watershed treatment improvements from the newspaper from, I don't know, a few days ago.
Yes, they have some, I mean, it's public knowledge, they have IDEM fines.
Yeah.
They are definitely on IDEM's radar, and they've been visited, and they have to solve their problems.
Do all of these include the things that they've already put in place, that they've already paid for last year? The personal property, it does?
Yes.
Because of the, in Steve's application, he includes a waiver which covers anything starting, you know, you don't want to hear my version, but anyhow, anything that has started is covered under this waiver when it was filed.
Okay.
So that's taken care of.
It's not like they're not paying the taxes, it's just
Right.
where they're going.
Right.
I mean, that's the basic difference. I think a lot of people are very confused. They think that if you give somebody an abatement, that means that they're just going, "Psh, I don't have to pay." That's not true.
not the case
We
at
just
all.
capture them in a TIF district instead.
Well, except for their bond payment. Which
Right,
goes back
well,
to
their
them.
bond
Right.
payment has to go to pay back the bond.
But it goes back
However-
to them to pay the bond because they're responsible for the bond.
Right.
Right, but that will be paid off
Yeah.
However-
very soon.
I will point out that with a 7 and 5-year abatement versus a 2 and 2-year abatement, there are going to be less dollars available to the district because you've abated the very dollars that could possibly go to redevelopment down the road. Just reminding the council of that. So.
And then on the personal property, they bought personal property in advance of applying for the abatement, even though there's a waiver to allow that to happen. But it's, to me, it's more like I'm asking for forgiveness than I am permission. And, you know, I don't operate that way. My business doesn't operate that way. I just don't think any of business ought to operate asking for forgiveness instead of permission, especially when it comes to affect tax dollars.
A lot of them do, though,
Okay.
Tony. They just don't admit it.
Right.
Do you have anything, Dave? No. Okay, I think back to the original, we have Joni made a motion.
Can I
Yes,
ask
please.
Joni one more question? So Joni, that would generate $1.8 million. And if we did it for 7 years, that's a lot of money. Is that the money that's needed? I mean, obviously, that number is going to go down every year because of sliding scale down. I'm just asking, is that
Will that extra million?
money
make a
really
difference?
needed?
It is needed. I mean, if, depending on what happens between Claypool and Louis Dreyfus, which we're not really privy to at this point, but they are working together, so that's encouraging. But yes, the money is needed to rectify that situation, and there are improvements needed down there. Not on State Road 15, because the state takes care of that, but on the side roads, because you do have a lot of farmers coming in on the county roads.
Okay, any other additional comments, questions of the council? Okay, we have a motion for a 7 and 5-year approval and a second from Kimberly. All those in favor, the usual sign. Okay, all those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
And Kathy abstains. Okay, so that motion died. Would anybody else like to make a new motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move we consider the 2 and 2 that was recommended by the committee.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it very reluctantly.
All right, we have a motion from Dave, a second from Sue Ann for the committee's recommendation of a 2 and 2-year abatement. All those in favor? Usual sign. All those opposed?
I'm abstaining again.
Well, that didn't get us anywhere.
What do you have in mind? You're the one that changed your vote. Oh, you're just no, okay.
Would we like to try this one more time? Maybe the third time's the charm. Maybe a compromise in the middle somewhere, just throwing ideas
Okay.
out there.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion of the 5-3.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor of a 5-3, and we have a second. All those in favor signify by the usual sign. Okay. Those opposed?
All right.
Okay. it look-
I'm
and
abstaining again.
Kathy abstains. We got it done. Thank you.
Rhonda, I will send you a modified
And thanks, Jeremy, for explaining everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, but we always have to bring those answers back to our farmers. There's no secrets.
Okay, if I'm not lost at this point in time, next up is Clerk Ann Torpy.
Okay.
And she has something for an election security grant. Good evening, Ann.
Hello. I'm here. In the fall, I requested a grant application with the Secretary of State. And in January, they changed it to be where it's reimbursable. So I'm asking for an additional appropriation to cover the grant amount. And then once I get the money, it will be reimbursed by the Secretary of State's office.
And this video, Ann, if you could explain a little bit about what video you are producing with this money?
We are producing 3 different videos: how to get registered to vote, how to vote by mail, and the different options available to county residents on voting in the county through mail, in person, early, travel board. We also have a new way for voters with print disabilities to vote. And that will all be in videos available on our website and hopefully shared with other agencies.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Oh, go ahead,
Okay, we
Tony.
have a motion from Joni, a second from Tony to approve. All those in favor, usual sign.
Thank you. And there's one more thing I'd like to share real quick. I
Yes,
know you guys
please.
had your time taken a lot this afternoon or this evening, but I wanted to let you know that I did ask to be part of the post-election audit conducted by the VSTOP program. So hopefully there's 11 counties that will be audited this year, half in the spring and half in the fall. So I'm hoping to be part of the spring audit. I haven't heard the details yet, but hopefully we will get to be part of that. And I'm looking really forward to having that audit done and easing voters' minds in our county. So
Thank you for doing that.
And I do have one more question. When do you expect the videos to be?
well, they're waiting on the funds, and then they'll start production hopefully this summer. So we're hoping it will be ready for the general election this fall.
Okay, so nothing, that was my.
Yeah, they're working right now on behind the scenes, getting information, and we're going to actually work with Warsaw School students as actors in our program and such, so it'll be really nice.
And just a compliment on the great job you've done. This is your last year and
Yeah.
your last primary and election. I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to be able to stay on, so it won't be my last.
I meant as clerk.
Yes, yeah,
Let me rephrase that.
yeah.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Next up, probation, Judge Karen. We have an additional appropriation request.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Yeah, it's for the probation user fees first. For reentry court.
Probation user fees?
Yes, the appropriation for the JDAI. So JDAI, we have 2 juvenile probation officers who, when the JDAI grant started, they were getting paid. That part of that money is no longer there. So we have some money in our juvenile user fee fund to cover their JDAI responsibilities, I guess. So we just want the appropriation. I thought that we did the paperwork, and I'm not sure what happened to it, but that should have been in our budget, and it wasn't.
I thought it
So
was
that means
too.
you're at the end.
So,
I'm sorry?
You said so
I-
that means you're done?
Yeah,
I
okay.
actually thought it was in your budget also.
Yes,
I
I did
thought so,
too,
too.
and then I'm not sure what happened to it, but I saw it in the budget, and we did the paperwork, but for whatever reason, it didn't get, I'm not sure. But we have money in the user fee fund to
Okay,
cover that, so we are just asking for the additional appropriation.
okay.
I'd make a motion that you use that
I'll
as,
second that.
as needed.
Okay, we
And-
have We have a motion from Kimberly, second from Kathy to approve.
Where'd it go?
Pardon me?
I'm just
We're just trying to figure out where it went. Because I know we
Do
did
we have any
that.
additional questions from the council?
It's,
Well,
Okay.
we got an email,
Let's do it before we vote.
yeah, well, we got an email a month or so ago. I don't know if it was from the auditor or from,
My guess would be since it's only 12.5, there must have been some kind of calculation issue with the salaries that were calculated and maybe included in the budget. Not that they weren't included at all. But we can check and make sure.
I was just told that, I thought had to come to do that.
Joni, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I just think it needs to be investigated. We need to find out if the money's there or not there and what happened to it.
Right.
I mean, either way, we'll pay, I'm sure that it can be covered, but I just think that we do need to figure out what happened.
Well, the money is there because the next sheet back shows that there's 31,277.11 in the
right,
fund.
exactly.
So the
Right,
money is there.
The money is there,
Yeah,
just
Not
may
a
not-
question on money being there.
So, motion stands.
I get it. I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second, with no further discussion, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, usual sign.
Thank you, and we will be back
We'll be
later
back.
on.
Thanks for the warning. Okay, County Administrator, Marcia McSherry. Good evening, Marcia.
Good evening. I have one item for your approval, and that would be more or less a rubber stamp because it's already been through other processes, but this is the $25,000 distribution to Launchpad that's been approved through the ARPA committee, the commissioners, and the council.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Joni, a second from Kimberly to approve, I'm assuming. All those in favor, usual sign.
To rubber stamp.
Yes.
To quote you.
Never know.
If I may, I have some
You may.
updates for you.
Yes, please.
Okay, so ARPA funding, the Justice Building renovation project is moving along. We're in phase one. Phase one includes Circuit Court and all of the staff area of Circuit Court. All the carpet is down. All the painting has been done. They're laying tile in the restrooms, hopefully, if not by the end of the day tomorrow, hopefully by Monday at noon, allowing the grout to dry, that will be done. And then the remainder is the ceiling tile that will have to be done. And there is quite a bit of ceiling tile in that area to be replaced. So barring any unforeseen complications, we'll continue on this path. We'll be moving into phase two. I believe it's supposed to start on April 7th. But, that sounds pretty simple, but there's still a lot of little things to be done. Next week, the end of the week, I'll do a walkthrough with the vendors to make sure everything looks in order. And then we'll go from there, putting everything back together.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks, Marcia. I have a question for you. So I see the balance on the ARPA funds is $6,761,588. Is that accurate? It's on the second page. So I'm assuming that's the ARPA fund. Are you getting all your requests and receipts in
Yes, we are.
as we've been approving them and so forth? Are we pretty much on schedule for that?
Yes, we are. A letter went out to all of those people that are all the non-for-profits and everything that was supposed to receive ARPA dollars and to see where they're at with their projects. And so I think we've probably have about half of them back in at this point in time. So we've got a little ways to go, but we hope to have that for the April meeting, I believe. So they'll have that to review.
Great. So we're on target pretty much for spending that in our time frame.
Oh, yes. Because
Okay.
we have to have it has to be appropriated by the end of this year and spent by the end of '26. So we're on target, absolutely. The renovation project, we're on target to complete next April. So that'll absolutely meet that deadline as well. We have the fire alarm system for the courthouse. All the equipment is in. We're just in the scheduling queue to get that scheduled, and then we'll move forward with that project. The Sydney Tower, it's all put together, and they'll start erecting that tower next week. So that's moving along. It's my understanding that the equipment won't all be here until June, possibly. So once that's complete, then we'll be able to see where we're at with that project.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marcia.
I have one more thing while you're talking about the ARPA committee. So the ARPA money that we've done, obviously the letters went out. The goal is, and I think we've talked about this as a group, that the goal would be to get that back in, study it, be sure what money we have that maybe isn't going to get spent. And then the second piece of that puzzle is that we will be going out and doing inspections to see what was actually done and taking some pictures. And I believe that this is a great opportunity for us to catalog what we did with the money and identify the positive things that are going to be long-reaching into our community. So that would be the goal at our next meeting, to be able to
Excellent.
provide that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Great idea.
Yeah, a lot of the distributions and projects have been complete. It's just now confirming to see what was left in those line items, so we can kind of give a tally of where we're at early in April to see where we have to go by the end of this year.
Okay. All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Marcia.
thank you, Marcia.
Next up, we have Sheriff's Office, and it says Jim Smith. You don't look like Jim. Good evening,
You're
Chris.
stuck with me tonight. Good evening.
Hi, Chris. Hello.
Hi there. The first thing on the agenda for us tonight is a salary ordinance amendment. It is to change the title from, it would be for the two SRO spots we had before, it's changing the title from deputy to deputy SRO.
Is this mainly for tracking
I
purposes?
believe so, yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Okay.
We have a motion from Joni, a second from Kathy to approve. All those in favor, usual sign. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
The second reason I'm here is I'm here to ask for approval to apply for a grant through the Homeland Security Department. It's the 2024 Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Program. It is not open yet. However, we're anticipating it to come open so we can apply in the next few weeks. Part of the program that we believe fits in with our Kosciuszko Community Recovery Program that we're going to have in the jail. What we're going to hopefully shoot for is to be able to secure funding for further mental health, peer recovery, and funds to be able to train those providers as they come into our jail to give those services. So we would ask permission to apply for that grant. Our max would be $345,000 over 2 years, and any funding that would come from Kosciuszko County itself is already taken care of through our other funding streams.
Okay, you said 3 something, and I thought it says 230.
It's 345
Well,
on
there's
there.
two
Okay,
parts.
there's
There-
two,
there-
never mind.
There's the recovery part of it, is
And the
the
115.
230, and then there's the training
Got
side of
it.
it, yes. The max that we could apply for is 345. Where that'll come out in the figures, it may be a little bit less than that depending on how the calculations come out, but that would be the max.
Is this a new grant,
It,
or is it a new grant to us?
it would be a new grant to us. This funding
Okay.
comes out through the federal government all the time. It's a funding stream that came up that had programs available we think we can use.
Make a motion to approve.
Can I ask one quick question? On your thing here, it says bystander training within the community. I'm just curious what that is.
Well, we have our nonprofit partners that we're using as far as the community recovery program.
Okay.
We're hoping to be able to extend that training not only to our employees that will be doing the services in the jail, but also extend it out into the community to where those nonprofits will be able to, when they have those contacts with the individuals, when they go back out into the community, they'd be able to get the same sort of services. The grant itself would allow for the peer recovery, for the mental health inside the facility, but we're hoping to have those programs in place outside such as Light and
Right.
Fellowship Mission, and we're hoping to be able to spread that out into the community.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that motion.
Okay, so I have a motion from Joni, a second from Kathy to approve. All those in favor?
Thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too.
Now, back up is Tammy Johnston.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it just didn't, the budget just didn't come over or something, so.
So last year in 2023, there were additional appropriations made into that fund and account, for those accounts. So when the budget projection was done for '24, it didn't automatically roll over.
Okay.
And that was missed until we went to try to pay somebody and something didn't work, so.
Okay, so this is to clean that up.
So our office advised them that we needed to do the additionals for, the 12.5 2 times for those two probation officers.
Okay.
Do we need to make a note so we have it in the budget for next year, that we have it?
It's taken care of now.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah, last year was when we figured out that fund had money that you could spend. I do remember doing that.
Okay, good, because I thought, what are we here for?
Thank you.
So we are here tonight to request permission to apply for a grant with the Indiana Office of Court Services of $170,000 for a reentry court. I don't know if anyone knows what a reentry court is, but it is another problem-solving court. It would be run through the probation department, but under Judge McGrath's supervision. It's just another tool that we would have. We would hope to maybe modify someone out of jail early, or, you know, they're going to come out in our community anyway. If we can give them some extra tools, why not? It would be more supervision than what they would be getting if they were not in reentry court.
So I learned about this today, a lot about that, from Tony Garza. So it would be modeled after what Wabash has, basically.
Many counties.
Many counties have it.
Yeah. But the one you guys particularly visited was Wabash, seen how it worked, and we're pleased with the way things went down there.
One that we've looked at, absolutely.
So is this grant a one-time and done grant? Is this going to be something that we can get every year?
It's an annual grant. If anything, I mean, if history proves true with what other counties have seen happen, it gets renewed annually. There's no indication that there's any slowing of the money that's being made available by the governor, by the Supreme Court. There's just an enormous encouragement and money to back it up for counties to be looking at problem-solving courts, finding a better way to help rehabilitate our criminals and not see the level of recidivism, the crowded jails, and the repeated bad behavior we're trying to.
And less incarceration.
Right. And
Sure.
Indiana has right now over 120 problem-solving courts in Indiana alone. The money is going to be there to help counties out. They realize that they don't want to build jails either.
But I really want to just mention briefly, less incarceration, that is true, but it's not to give people a free pass and an easier ride, right? I've heard all of those negative euphemisms, happy clappy court and hug a thug and, you know, whatnot. That is, truly, that's not the point. It is enhanced accountability for people who are either, they've got substance abuse disorders, maybe a co-occurring mental health issue. They need enhanced accountability. They need to be walked through that process so that they learn how to manage these things and then can manage on their own as the accountability falls by the wayside little by little, and they can handle it on their own. They're given the supports to get employed, get their driver's license back, get right with their families, and get reconnected with the community and be productive members of the community instead of the people who just keep on going through the revolving door back in jail and causing harm to, obviously, our community members as well.
Okay, so
Does a reentry court need to be established before you can apply for the grant?
We're in the process of establishing that. We have certification, people coming from the IOCS, Supreme Court, in June. We have almost all of our documents, ready to submit to them for review. And once we get pre-certified, we can start working with our first individual.
okay, so the fund, this grant funding is to fully fund the program you're talking about?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, worst case scenario, do you have a plan B if you would go a year down the road and would not receive the grant dollars?
Right. Well, I mean, unfortunately, but for the maybe county saying, we'll fund that,
not that we're expecting that.
Is-
It's not unlike.
Kind of where I was going with
It's,
that.
no, we're not gonna come and ask the county. It's not unlike almost every other grant that people ask you to approve, drug court or whatnot. It's an annually renewable grant. They don't promise you money, 5 or 10 years in the future. They want to see how well you are being accountable to the money that they've given you, what kind of steward you've been of that, how successful your program's been, how you're managing things. And I have confidence that they would renew it.
Yeah, and I will say, I do know that $8.5 million is already in the budget in Indiana for problem-solving courts only. So it's not going to go away. We're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, it's been
Okay.
around.
This is-
now.
it's
So
been
to
around-
answer my
it's been
question,
around.
you don't have a Plan B, or you do have a Plan B?
The only plan B that I can talk about is gradually with user fees, the
Does it say
user
user
fee
fees?
account builds
Right.
up
Okay.
Yeah.
and becomes self-sustaining, but we
Okay.
can't do that right out the gate.
Okay.
There's just no way to have that level of funds available to be
Okay.
self-supporting.
All right.
Eventually, that would be the goal.
That would be the goal. However, we will keep coming back as often as we need to ask you permission to apply
And
for
there will
grants.
be more grant money available to it, but.
I'll make a motion, to allow them to apply for the grant.
Okay, hold
I'll
on.
second
Chris,
that.
Chris wanted to say
Chris has a
something.
comment.
That's okay. The sheriff just wanted me to express that the judge was kind enough to have us along with her, and we watched this program happen. We believe this aligns well with what we're trying to do at the sheriff's department, and we wanted to let you know we fully support what the judge is doing in probation and working on this program.
I just have to say, I'm really impressed with all of the foresight and thought and all of the going around and checking all these programs out to help people who absolutely don't know any better or keep doing things they shouldn't do. And I just think it's a really good thing for our county that we're moving in a direction to address some of those issues.
Sad part is these have been around a while, but now money has become available for these things.
They've been around
Just
a
recent,
long
they've been
time.
around a long time because they've been a really good idea for a long time. The sad part is now
There's funding.
we're finally getting some money from the legislation. Yeah.
Okay, with that, we have a motion from Tony, I believe, and a second from Kathy. All those to approve. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up,
Oh,
oh, wait a minute.
pencil me in at the end. Well,
I penciled it. Make them wait. Okay, council would you like to hear them now?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
shoot.
So the juvenile probation officers have seen I think, Sue Ann, you were at it's a headphone set, virtual reality. It shows the juveniles on probation, or quite frankly, any, like, if they don't know what they want to do, they put this headset on and it can show them, like, one of them showed how to climb a ladder to put a tower on a house, or basically it's an
The
education.
alignment, not LPN, but,
Yeah,
medical
EMS,
assistant.
they had one on the EMS.
Right.
Yes.
So what happened was, they have been able to get possible donations to fund this program. It's a one-time, we would just need to buy it one time. And so they went through, the commissioners agreed to an ordinance, approved the ordinance. They actually went through Zimmer, but part of an email that Dana received said grant, and then another part said charitable donation. So because the grant was in there, we were told we should probably ask permission to apply for. It's not even really a grant, it's just someone wanting to give them money for this. But because the email said grant, we thought we should probably go through this route as well.
And
But
the
it's-
ordinance. Go ahead.
Oh, but it's totally funded, right?
It's totally funded. It's just, we don't even know how much money they're willing to give. It's just to put
Just a donation.
donation.
Excellent.
Okay, so
I make a motion that, yes, apply for that. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion from Kimberly and a second from Kathy to approve. All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you,
So
and
moved.
thank you for letting us slip that in.
I do want to say
Yes.
that on the donation fund, I think there are some things that need to be addressed in the donation fund. It doesn't have any guardrails as to what the money can be spent on. I think it needs to be more specific. That's one. And the second piece says that it is to be spent without appropriation. And I believe the other, I could be wrong, but I believe some of the other donation funds that we have, they are asked to come back and verify. It's like opening Pandora's box. It's not a case of lack of trust with what's going on today, but it doesn't look good if we just say, somebody can donate you money and you can spend it for whatever you want to without having some guardrails.
So-
And I know you would be great stewards, so don't take that as
No,
anything
no, not at all.
personal.
So that would be in the donation ordinance?
In the ordinance, yeah, we'll work on it.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Greg, you're up. And Susie.
Absolutely. Again, we appreciate the time. Just very briefly, in the past, the county council has approved a incentives and procedures policy for KEDCO for economic development projects. There had been a question just recently in terms of what that policy was saying on our website. We wanted to let you know we have taken that off of our website until we have a chance to have further discussions, clarify any questions that you may have.
Okay. With that,
Thank you.
I don't believe we need a motion to cover any of that,
Okay.
so thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you very much.
So does that mean we're going to continue to work to try to make this document
That is correct.
palatable? Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, next, I guess I'm up next. A meeting agenda workshop that I think everybody is aware, we've been talking about it. Kathy, would you like to read for the record of what you supplied the council with,
Do you guys want me to read this whole letter?
or not?
Just summarize.
Okay, not.
Okay, so basically, in summary, you guys know I sent you a letter that I had an opportunity to talk with some council members from Elkhart County, and they were telling me about this pre-agenda. They don't call it the pre-agenda meeting. They actually call it like the finance committee meeting, but it's not, they don't actually do that. It's more of a pre-agenda meeting. And it's advertised, it's open to the public, and, but no votes are taken and no recommendations are made. And basically, the point is to have like an informal gathering. It's not mandatory to attend. The council's not mandatory to attend, but we have to advertise it if we're going to get together for the open door policy rules. And anyway, it's just so that we can ask questions and, you know, better inform ourselves on any issues that are coming before the council ahead of time. So it'd be a week before every council meeting where we would informally meet. We would not follow the regular rules of order, Robert's Rules of Orders, and we would just, you know, if you're on the agenda, then we would request that you come. That would probably include like KEDCO, or, you know, we would like them to be able to come too, so that we could ask questions, because sometimes too, you know, we may not, depending upon the topic, have, you know, enough information to be able to ask good questions, and because somebody else asked a question that might, you know.
Spur another question.
Spur another question, give us more information. We're just basically trying to, you know, make as well-informed decisions as we possibly can, and, you know.
I'll add a little bit to that. I think we want to try to include every council member in firsthand reactions with our department heads and requests. I believe all of us together are much more intelligent than one of us individually, so hopefully we can all learn from this. I get the fact that it's going to be another meeting, and I'm not for that either. However, I think for us to be a more effective council, this would work, and it would allow us to look at different things throughout the year. And a couple things that come to mind would be, it seems like the president and vice president work closely together for committee appointments every year. I would like to have the whole council involved and get the first reactions from that. And also, we have the 1782s that are worked on every year. And I think that would be a good working session to certify our tax rate. Just a few thoughts I had. I don't want to hear from other council members that we didn't know, you don't include me. I want to make a forum into which the whole council comes, because we're a team. I mean, we don't all have to agree, and 90% of the time or 99% of the time we don't, which is a good thing. And we don't want the taxpayers of the county to get the idea that we're making decisions. We're not making decisions, we're gathering information. It's also a forum to where our department heads, if they have questions and you're not on the agenda, please show up. Because you might ask the question in this forum that another council member can ask, or it might be far enough ahead of a meeting that we can get you answers. So this is something that we're wanting to try. We're not looking at implementing this permanently, but we would like to try it for the remainder of '24 and then evaluate it again in December. I think at one meeting, or before a meeting or something, Dave and I had talked, he says, you all don't talk. Well, I hope this is a forum to which we can share ideas. But I want to make it clear that no decisions will be made, no recommendations will be made.
And it doesn't take the place of our regular committee meetings, because if you're on a committee and something comes before that committee, that committee is going to be having meetings and discussing it and making a recommendation to the council. So it doesn't take the place of that. This is just an opportunity for the department heads who are on the actual agenda for us to be able to ask questions to them that we could possibly be doing this on our own anyways. And it's not to limit the amount of information that is going to go to the public, because it is a public meeting, so the public can come. But also if something, if something comes up and it's a good question and we know the answer, so we kind of don't have to ask it because we already ask it, know the answer, but it's something we feel the public needs to know, then we can always ask that question again at the second meeting.
And we can explain it in a more intelligent fashion.
Yeah.
If we've had time to really look at it and think about it. Okay, another point I want to make, we wanted to make sure that the State Board of Accounts were doing everything correctly. So Kathy spoke with Luke Britt, and she wrote this note to all council members. I spoke with Luke Britt about our pre-agenda review. Here's a summary of what he said. The auditor or auditor's representative needs to be present. It does need to be advertised as follows: 48 hours notice, date, time, and location. Minutes should be taken, but they can be very general. Just need to include who was present and a general summary of discussion. They could be passed out at the next meeting with a general ratification. This can be very informal. Don't have to record or offer Zoom. This will change July 1st of 2025. As far as the recording side, we will have to record after that. But even with that, he said that we could record and upload it, and it just needs to be available for 90 days. But this isn't necessary at this time. He said we can call it anything we want. Agenda review's okay. No matter what we call it, these are the requirements. Kathy, would you like to add anything to that?
I guess the point is, we don't want to make more work for the auditor. We don't want to make more work for the auditor. We just want to help ourselves make as good a decisions as we possibly can and gain as much information as we possibly can as a council, so we can make the best decisions for the county.
Right. Now, we did roll this out at the department heads meeting this morning, talked to everybody that was in attendance, and I feel we got a very good report back that, it's something that is worthwhile. It's something that the department heads that spoke to us are excited about.
But we did tell them it was dependent upon us passing it, so we didn't say this, we're sure doing it, has to get passed.
Right.
But since we don't know when the next meeting will be and we want to get it started, we wanted to give them a heads up that this may be coming, depending upon how this vote goes tonight.
Okay, now I also printed off a couple of comments that came back from council members. I can read those, or you're all aware of them. Basically, it talks about, we've already have meetings. There are regularly scheduled department head meetings, where issues can be talked about. I get that. I think it's important for us to share what is happening with an organization or committee, since it's actually part of our job to attend those meetings and bring information back to the council. So I think that's talking about the committee reports.
Right.
Kim, well,
Yeah,
okay, go ahead. You
I
read it.
wrote that.
Okay. She says, I also understand it makes the meetings longer, yet I believe that is part of why we are elected and what makes us individually an important part of our team. And then we received another one that says, also, we are elected to consider, which includes researching for information to make individual votes that are in the best interest of our taxpayers and community. Inviting candidates is unnecessary as our meetings are open to the public. So anyhow, those are the comments we received. There's kind of two ways to look at it. I'm a little bit old school. I'm under the school of thought. If we continue to do the same thing year after year, what's valid 10 years ago is not necessarily valid today. And I don't believe it does the council or the county any harm to give this a try. So we plan on an 8:30 meeting across the street in the video conferencing room. And the reason we thought about first thing in the morning is our department heads are usually in the building. They would not have to come back after hours. It would allow another group of taxpayers in our county that cannot attend our evening meetings for a possibility to come and hear and comment. So that's another opportunity that doesn't exist now. And I'll buy the coffee if Kathy buys the donuts.
Yeah, free donuts.
And with that, I would like this to be a council decision, so I would ask for a motion and a vote.
Could I ask one
Yes.
thing? The video conferencing room, you're speaking of the smaller room?
Yes.
Over in the Justice
The
Building?
more intimate
in the
setting.
basement.
And that's only because of construction right now.
How many people will fit in that room?
We can stack them in there if we have to. I don't know.
Well, here's another thing too, is that if you're on the agenda, I mean, like, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting. So this is an informal, this is supposed to be informal. So if you're first on the agenda and you don't think you have anything that you can contribute that would be helpful to other things on the agenda, then you don't have to stay.
Or if you don't have anything, you want a donut and a cup of coffee, come.
Yeah, and grab it and go. So
Yeah.
it's,
It's
you know,
meant-
we're
it's
not
meant
trying
be-
to,
The point is very informal.
yeah, and we're not trying to take up more of your time because we know you're all busy. We're just trying to help ourselves make better decisions.
And right now, as far as the agenda review before the meeting, it's only Kathy and I, and we miss things. So we're looking
speak
for
for
the help
yourself.
from the
No, I'm
rest of
just
the
kidding.
council.
Well, what do you mean?
No,
We review the agenda
With-
the week with Rhonda
Right.
yeah.
and
Well,
say,
those
you
guys probably
know,
do too.
this,
But anybody else can do that also.
as well.
Okay.
Yes, as well. But there again, not all the council members do that.
Okay.
So this would bring those in that desire to do that. And remember, it's not mandatory. I would hope everyone could show up. And the commissioners are perfectly welcome. I would hope Marcia would be there. Any candidates that want to learn, I would hope they would be there, and anyone from the public. You know,
When
City of
we-
Warsaw, Mayor, you're welcome.
When we went to the one in Elkhart County, they had the commissioners there, they had their, Marcia's job,
Administrator.
the county administrator, but they had the county administrator there. They had several department heads there. It was really amazing, super informative, and just really impressive. And afterwards, we talked to the councilman, a couple of the council members and some of the commissioners, and they all just said how great they thought this was and how it really helped them move the ball forward and make better decisions. And they did have some public, some people from the community that came and asked questions. And they were told, you know, if you want to come back to the regular council meeting, feel free. You know, you don't have to just limit your questions to this. If you feel you want to come back in the evening when we have our regular meeting, you're more than welcome. So,
We're just trying to be more transparent.
yes.
And we're trying to include everyone. You know, we're not just one person sitting up here, we're seven. So everybody needs to have, you know, a chance at first reactions.
I don't, can you clarify first reactions? Because I'm a little confused by that.
Okay, I guess I would elaborate on that, that when we have a meeting and someone Zooms in, we experienced that at budget time last year. It was very, very difficult because that person was not here to interact with the council face to face. And I
Right.
feel that's very important. If you represent the taxpayers of the county, you know, they voted you into office. I feel we need to do the best job we can. I'm not sure this is it, but it's something I think we need to try.
No, I would just, yeah. One thing that we all need to be aware of that brings up a very valid point is anytime you zoom in, there is a delay. So anytime that you're talking, you're probably talking over someone.
Right.
And just let me finish, please. The one thing is that there should be some kind of a signal. Whenever I zoomed in, like when I broke my foot and couldn't be here, I like raised my hand so that somebody would know I wanted to speak. And then when I was given permission, everybody knew I was going to say something. So that is, but the commissioners have handled that very well. Zooming in, there's been no problems. But
Still a delay.
there's always going to be a delay. There's nothing you can do about that part of
So,
it.
and our suggestion was that we not Zoom, that we not allow for Zoom. I know that
And that's not meaning that can't change down the road
Right.
if we actually see a real need for it. But starting out, we would like to start out without Zoom. And, you know, we talked about committee reports, providing those at the council meetings at the end, what we're doing. Those could also be provided there, you know, a brief. This is not where I went, but this is what I did,
here's what you need
where
to
I
know.
went. You know, and there again, it's gonna hit a portion of the population in the county that's not available in the evenings.
Right, and I understand all that, I really do. I guess my point, which I put in an email back to Kathy, that, to everybody, and I don't know if did anybody respond that wasn't shared with everybody?
I think Tony, maybe Tony.
Tony didn't.
I can't remember, I don't think
I
Tony.
didn't respond at all because
No,
I've
you
had
did respond to
conversations.
me.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Well,
you did.
then
I responded
read
to
it,
everyone.
So, okay, my only comment is that, A, it is creating more work. No matter what you say, it's creating more work. B is that, for instance, we had grant requests. Okay, if any, in the past, anytime you got your agenda, you would look through it, and if you had a question, you would call that person or go see them and get answers to your question. Because we are voted into office independently. And it's up to us to do our due diligence, to educate ourselves on the decisions that are being made. And when you do it, if you do it this way, then you're going to turn around and have those same people have to come again the next week to the real meeting in case, A, someone doesn't attend, or B, they have to repeat everything so that the public is aware because we're not streaming it. You can't zoom in, and there will be no recording to watch. So I just feel like you're duplicating efforts, and I just feel like we're taking a lot of time from department heads and from the auditor's office that they don't have. And the department heads I've talked to have not been in favor.
Would the auditor's office like to weigh in on this? I mean, we're having a discussion here.
Well, just, I mean, just having talked to the council members and the commissioners over there, they said that their actual council meeting goes quicker and runs more smoothly.
Yeah, but you know,
It's more effective.
And
is the
also,
words they use.
based upon the questions that they receive, you can more direct, it gives the department heads more of an idea of how the questions that they're going to receive. So when they direct their comments at the regular council meeting, they can address the questions that they know people have because we've already asked.
I mean, you know, I'll point out that this will not be the only body in the county that does this. Commissioners do it on every meeting.
They have a right to.
Area plan,
they do it before the
area
meeting.
plan, we do it a week ahead. KEDCO has meetings way ahead of any, you know, major presentation. So it's something that is being done at this point. It's just, we would like to try it with the council.
Well,
see
the
if
thing
it
of it
works.
is, if it's not effective and it doesn't work, we don't have to keep doing it, but we won't know if we don't try.
There you go.
And it does give the public another opportunity. So for those that work in the evenings and can't come to this meeting, they could come to that meeting where they wouldn't be able to come to this one.
Okay, well, I think
there's-
we've kind of talked about it. We could sit here all night and chat about it.
There's a lot of pros and cons, but my concern is that, you know, we want to get people that have the availability to make decisions for the county, and I feel like in adding something like this, it pushes away people who are working. You know, you commit a certain amount of time for a certain amount of money, and I feel like we're pushing it to, you either have to be an entrepreneur, you have to be retired. I mean, how many people can take off in the middle of the morning and that a couple times a week, plus other 4 or 5 council-appointed committees that we serve on? I'm just saying,
I couldn't agree with you more, Kim, on that, because when I hit spring, I'm gonna be busy.
I'm there today.
My workload is gonna double, if not more.
Right.
But I still feel it's that important. Actually, on the meeting, on the June meeting, I will be leaving the courthouse, flying to Portland, Oregon, marrying my daughter, or getting her married off.
Oh, good.
And I will, yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds a little strange there, doesn't it?
Be sure to put that in there. He's going to marry his daughter.
But then I will be jumping on a plane and returning to Indiana while my wife stays in Oregon, so I can make the council meeting.
Well,
I feel this is that important to the
But-
county.
and I
The
do that
voters
often.
elected me, so I want to do my best. So there's a little campaign speech, and I'm not even running this year, so. So with that, I guess, I mean, since we want to put it before the council, and let the council decide, I would look for a motion either way and a vote.
Can I say something just first? You all know me, I'm willing to come to whatever meeting needs to be had. If it turns out that it's productive and it's a good thing, that would be great. If the next meeting is only a rehash of the first thing, it's a waste of time. The committees, the purpose of the committees was that you, as a committee person, are a representative of this body with the requirement that you report back to this committee what went on in the committee you were designated to attend. That was the principle.
Right.
Then we got away from that, and then nobody wanted to take time to do it. Well, that was the principle behind having committees. And I believe those committees are very important, because that's how you find out from those people who attended those committees. So, I mean, like I said, I'm willing to do whatever anybody else wants to do, but I just feel like if we make it be productive, that's fine. If it's just another meeting for the sake of a meeting, it's a waste of everybody's time.
And everything has to be rehashed that night, or the next week, it has to, because that's our official council meeting. So we're going to do it twice.
Okay, we're ready for a motion either way. If so, would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we on, now, your motion
What is
is
your
to.
motion?
My motion is that we do the pre-agenda meeting and that we not allow Zoom. If everything.
8:30.
8:30, across the street to be advertised. What else do I need to say?
Do you want to attach a time frame to this? That if we don't accomplish,
And it's not mandatory.
what we're setting out to do, at what point do we say it's not working?
Well, I mean,
I mean,
I think we
I
should
think
do
there
it
should be
through
a
the end
time.
of the year. I think we should try it through the end of the year and see if it's helpful, and if not, then we don't do it.
Okay, Rhonda, are you clear on the motion then? Yeah. Okay, and Dave, you're clear on the motion, and you second it? Okay, I guess we'll ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Were you going to say something, Sue?
I just have one more question. If all it is going to be an informational exchange, why do we not want to allow people to Zoom into it?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just asking.
Well,
That's right. If you're not
Zoom in,
talking-
I mean, if someone wants to watch it, like on YouTube, but the delay thing really drags things out, and I
But if
believe,
we designate it that it's a listen only. You can tune in
I'm
and
willing to
listen.
amend my motion for that. that we.
To listen
To
only,
listen
not
only.
participate?
Yes.
Oh,
That way they're going
absolutely,
to get the
because
information.
That way if
if
you-
you're gone, you can look and see what's happened and become better informed. You just won't be able to participate in the debate.
Or that we use
Or
the
we
chat
can use the
box,
chat box,
Yeah.
which is not delayed.
Right.
which
Okay.
then means somebody from the auditor's office is going to have to watch that chat box. And if somebody puts in a question, then there's a question.
And there may
I
be,
get-
department heads may want to watch it.
Well, and that was my other thinking. If I don't have to come here, but I want to know what's going on, I could sit at my desk in my
Right.
office,
Well-
doing whatever is I needed to be doing, and I could be quietly listening.
And you could
Correct.
text us and say, are you kidding me?
And if you live so many hours out or 45 minutes out, then
Right.
it saves you 3 hours of your day
Right.
to come to a 1-hour
Okay.
meeting.
So you're willing to amend your motion to include Zoom?
I'm willing to amend my motion to include Zoom as a listening option.
Okay. Dave? Okay, so we have the Zoom as a listening option, and we have the motion to approve with all of the things she talked about. Ready for a vote? All those in favor, usual sign. All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now, where are we at? I believe
Rhonda.
we are at Rhonda for February encumbering.
Oh, she's doing that.
All right, you should have a list in your packets showing you the total of encumbering, which is a total of $2,505,805.05. That includes a lot of the payroll at the end of the year from last year and, you know, claims that were,
So the
Approved
payroll's
in
a
20
big chunk of this.
yeah,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
Motion to approve the encumbering report.
Second.
We have a motion from Joni, a second from Tony to approve the encumbering report. All those in favor? Okay. Next.
All right, and the next item is just a clarification, a correction on the year that we did for the HMEP 2024 grant. It was put on the wrong year,
So that's just a year correction.
so just a year correction.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Kim, second from Joni to approve. All those in favor? Okay.
And the last one is just a clarification concerning the salary ordinance amendment for Health First Indiana. And it reads as follows, whereas the Kosciuszko County Council adopted the 2024 salary ordinance on October 12th, 2023. In 2023, the state of Indiana created a new public health fund. This position is for a fund coordinator for this new Health First Indiana Fund. This position is a salaried exempt position. This position will not receive overtime, compensatory time. This position is a PAT 4-2 that is effective immediately. It is understood that when the funding for Health First Indiana is terminated, this position will be removed from the salary ordinance.
That's not the right one, is it?
Yeah, that's the old one, Rhonda. There's another line in there that says this adjustment to the original amendment is retroactive to February 8th, since we're signing it today.
That's what we have in front of us.
Yeah, that's there. I missed
That's what we
that.
have in front of
I
us.
missed it, yes.
So we'll be making a motion on the one we have in front of us that includes that line.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Tony, a second from Sue Ann to approve. All those in favor? Okay, so moved.
That's all.
No, they didn't. all
Yeah,
vote.
I'm opposed.
Oh, Joni's opposed. I stand corrected.
All right, thank you.
Still motion carried. Okay. I have down next committee reports. Do we have any committee reports this evening?
I do have one.
Okay,
I have one from MACOG. It's just general information, but apparently from the NDOT federal call, the town of North Webster is going to receive an award for a sidewalk project that is basically located in the town of North Webster along State Road 13. This project is scheduled for the 2028 to 2029 time period, and it should help to connect future trails in our county.
okay.
Didn't the county get striping money as well?
That That wasn't mentioned at the meeting, so I don't,
It was in the newspaper.
wasn't,
Okay.
I'm just going from what happened in the meeting.
Anyone
That
else?
wasn't in the newspaper. This is new.
Report, the Solid Waste Committee, they're going to have at least a 3-month where there's no fees involved for the public to bring anything in. They're doing very well financially with the money that is coming in. In all likelihood, it'll extend longer than 3 months, but it'll be announced very soon. But there's not going to be any fees trying to encourage recycling. Plus, they don't need any more money. They're operating fine.
Good news. Great.
Redevelopment Commission met today. Several things were talked about and addressed, but the one thing that will probably be in the newspapers, we did grant $30,000 from the Old Road 30 TIF to a new business that has purchased an existing building and is completely renovating it, stripping it, and they are going to move fabricating, which they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on from Allen County back to Kosciuszko County, which includes employees, and they're going to do their own training, and it's a win-win situation that KEDCO brought to us quite a while ago, and it was unanimous that we give them the $30,000. They're also going to run Phase 3 electric through REMC, and doing a lot of positive things in that building, and it will definitely, we will get back much more than that
And this
in
business
return.
is based where, Joni, can you say?
Yeah, it's between New 30 and Old 30. It is
I mean, the company that you're.
oh, the company, it's part of Core Mechanical. Right, it'll have a different name, but it is part of theirs, and they have really grown their Atwood facility. And then they decided they're paying a lot to have fabricating done. They can do it in-house, and so that's,
You're talking about the old Diamond Fleet property?
yes, thank you. I couldn't think of I knew it was a trucking company. That's all I could think of off the top of my head. That was one of the major things. And then I guess for council's information, we need to do some bookkeeping corrections. And we're working with the commissioners and
Meaning the redevelopment commission?
the redevelopment commission for the 1300 North project. And it will be paid from 30% of TIF funds. Then there's an encumbered amount from 23 that the commissioners have agreed, well, they will be voted on. And then they're going to pay the remaining balance of that 1300 contract out of their special projects once KEDCO goes before them at their next commissioner meeting to request that. So, and that is moving along. Are you interested as a council in seeing what they're doing with that 1300 project?
I am, because I get calls almost daily.
Okay. So, I mean, I can email out what we've gotten. It's really nice maps and all kinds of things that they've given us. We have it. It's electronic. But they have provided us with a packet that has what they're thinking, what they've done. There's 2 of them. And I'd be happy to forward all these to you so that you can at least see what that money is going for and what they're doing with it. So,
Okay. Great. Thank you, Joni.
you're welcome.
Tony, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Sue Ann?
We have done 2 abatement committee meetings, just looking at possibilities, trying to figure out what we wanted to recommend or what was recommended for Lloyd Dreyfus. I also, on February 15th, went to the feasibility study that the town, this Warsaw City has done. Had a wonderful packet with a lot of ideas of what's going to happen or what could happen and what all the possibilities are. And I believe you all had that in your packets, because I got it to Rhonda because I thought it was important that we have some idea, since some of their design is including things that the county owns, so we probably should maybe take a look and be sure that we understand it. The KCCRP, that's the Kosciuszko County Community Recovery Program. We had an advisory committee meeting. It was very informative. That navigator position will be the person who is going to coordinate this whole thing, try to get it figured out so that maybe people 30, 60, 90 days out, there'll be programs, things for them to get accomplished in order to be ready to meet the streets. And I think it's great that all the rest of this stuff is coming together. Because as you hear, everybody is working to try to make this work. Because I think we all realize that we have a terrible problem and we've got to do something to try to fix it. And the fix is not just to throw money at it. It has to be to have meaningful programs that are going to actually benefit the people. Anyway, trying to return those people to society is obviously the ultimate goal. And then, I don't know, some of you may have, but I think this also had a meeting, but Stillwater, I had a sit-down visit with the people from Stillwater to talk to them about what they do with our money and to get a better idea and to try to share with them some things that I want to know when they come to us the next time. So I'm looking forward to seeing their next presentation.
I had one of those meetings
Yeah, I
with them
thought
as well.
you-
And give them some thoughts and ideas we had, and they're planning on coming to the April meeting to present their first quarter report.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then that Health First Committee, Carrie serves on it, I serve on it, there are several other people in the community that serve on it, but it's trying to get that up and running, trying to figure out in their budget what they need to spend. We've had a lot of conversation about the schools and trying to contract with the schools, trying to provide services to the schools that will provide better medical, better conditions, better things for the kids in school, things that many kids aren't privy to because of their family's finances. We also are looking at a clerical position to be filled. So the budget will come to us at the next council meeting, I believe. So we'll be able to finally approve that and actually get it nailed down into black and white. And then, of course, the ARPA stuff. I think that's it.
Okay. I obviously attended area plan this last month. It was a very, very slow month, like a 15-minute meeting. We approved 4 final plats, and that was it for the month. I also attended a meeting, I believe, with KEDCO, and we talked about the LSC property west of town. And other than doing the duties of the president that have become a lot more than I ever imagined, that's pretty much what I've done. Okay, anything else or any further business to come before the council tonight? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion Tony, second from Kathy. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Sheriff, you're putting me.
Oh, thank you very much. You betcha. You betcha. You're just in and out of town, I understand. Yeah.